Welcome back to the Leeds Rhinos Podcast, episode 36. It's a Thursday, and that means it's our Q&A edition, and we're delighted to be joined by assistant physio Patrick Wood, who we're chatting to about his role at the club, how he got to be at the Rhinos, and you'll find why that's a different sort of journey once you hear him speak, and we'll also be answering your questions that you've sent in for Patrick to answer. Thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcast to make sure you keep up to date with all the latest podcasts from the Rhinos. The new Knock-On Effect with Jared O'Connor and Tom Nicholson-Watton with their special guest Ethan Clark-Wood is out now, so make sure you get that. And then check out the latest editions of Box 2 with Jiva Mentor chatting to Jamie Jones. We've got a fascinating insight into an elite athlete in Jiva Mentor and her incredible career that's seen her play at the very top level since the age of 16 for the last 20 years and win everything achievable in her sport. So check out Box 2 in partnership with Best Western GB Hotels. Fantastic listen there with Jamie and Jiva. Well, it is the Q&A edition, and delighted to be joined by Patrick. Patrick, especially welcome to Patrick's parents who'll be watching this at their home in America. So that's why Patrick's going to be sounding a little bit different from our normal guests. Great to have you on board. Looking forward to tomorrow night against League. Should be a big game for the boys.
Yeah, really excited for it. Home games at Headingley are always great, so it'll be good to try and kick it back off and get back on the winning train.
Give us a bit of background on yourself, Patrick. Obviously, from the accent, we know you started your journey in America. What's taking you from America to Leeds Rhinos?
No, I don't think my accent's changed a whole lot. I think maybe some vocabulary shifts along the way, but I think I sound pretty American still. So, so I grew up in Michigan in the United States. I lived there until I was about 18 years old. Then I went to university at Eastern Illinois University in Illinois, obviously, where I swam and did athletic training. From there, I kind of worked a little bit, ended up moving to Australia, actually, doing a physiotherapy degree over there. Worked there for a bit. Through there, I kind of got into rugby and introduced to rugby. Started in union, so I worked in union for a little bit and then progressed to Rugby League through some connections there and ended up coming to Leeds Rhinos, and that's history.
That's the pot edition. It's a quick version.
Version, yes.
We'll drill a bit more down into that. You mentioned you went to Eastern Illinois University. Some famous alumni from there. Tony Romo,
yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo was a couple of years before you, was he?
It was a year before I went, yes.
Yes, some famous people. John Malkovich. Alumni of Eastern Illinois, so it's a good stock there. But you mentioned you were a swimmer back then. You're pretty high standard, are you?
Better than average, but yeah, it's nowhere near Olympic level. So yeah, it was the NCAA over there and the college system is pretty good for athletics. So it was a great opportunity to study as well as pursue an athletic career to an extent. So training was intense and it was a great environment with the team, and being able to, like I said, get a degree along with doing a sport is always a great opportunity.
Do you think it's important for people particularly involved in sports medicine or S&C side of things that you have had to really push yourself to a high level of sport? You know what where you've got to take your body to perform?
Yeah, no, I think it does help a lot. I think a lot of people in our profession probably came from that background of sport. So they played and then they kind of got into it, whether they didn't make it to a higher level and stuff. So I do think it helps. You understand what the athletes are going through a little bit more, and you can help relate a little bit. So yeah, I think being active and athletic yourself, and yeah, again, you don't have to be a professional by any means, but even just doing a little bit of it, I think helps understand and relate to the players a little bit more.
And you spent some time at NFL side New Orleans Saints as well. What was that like to see how that environment works?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to get an internship with the New Orleans Saints during my time when I was at Eastern. And it was a great environment. Like Drew Brees were there. Sean Payton was the head coach, who's also an Eastern Illinois alum. I was actually working with a running backs group, and that was when Alvin Kamara's rookie year for any NFL fans. Adrian Peterson was there along with Mark Ingram, so it was a big group of pretty big group of running backs. So yeah, it was a great experience to see kind of the facilities they have, their like roster number size too in preseason. Obviously in season you got a decent roster, 53-man roster as well, and then but during preseason they have, I think we had about 120 guys coming in that we were looking after before the cuts came. So yeah, it was a pretty intense time, but it was good to see kind of how everything works and all that.
And what does an intern do at an NFL team?
To be fair, the Saints was pretty good. So obviously you do have your normal intern work of kind of help getting field set up and doing intern stuff of stocking certain shelves and things. But we were pretty good. We were able to lead some rehabs on some players. They were made for us, but we were allowed to lead it on our own in the facility in the areas and stuff. So it was a good opportunity at Saints to learn and see other people do some intern stuff as you have to do, but then also get to lead a little bit as well and actually take some rehabs with some players.
And being around that elite team environment, that led to you having a bit of a change of direction where you wanted to go with your career. You ended up in Australia and getting more into the physio side of things at Bond University.
Yeah, so I think it was kind of deciding what was the next step after I finished, and just the Gold Coast and the beach and warm weather. And I actually studied abroad in England down at University of Winchester for a little bit of time, my junior year, which is year 3 of uni. So that was kind of my first international experience. And then I kind of wanted to go again and experience something else. So yeah, I went to Australia. As I heard the physio is great. It was a 2-year degree instead of a 3-year degree in the US, so kind of made sense along that part, and it does transfer back to the US. So ended up going there, and I had a great time in the Gold Coast and learning from a great university.
And you mentioned you started out in rugby union over there, and then eventually came to rugby league with North Devils in the Queensland Cup. But how did you find rugby league initially? Had you had much experience of it before that point?
No, so I mean, in the US, rugby's like they know what rugby is, but most people aren't going to know the difference between sevens, league, and union, or any of the different codes. So when I first came over, I really enjoyed the sport. I think the main difference. I was a big NFL fan growing up in American football, so you have to be big, strong, and powerful, but the conditioning and fitness is nowhere near like any standard of rugby. So I thought it was really interesting. You had to kind of marry the difference between being big, strong, and powerful, but also being conditioned and being able to keep up with the intensities of the game. So yeah, when I first came over, like I said, I was in union. So a slightly different game, but still a lot more running than football. And then, when I came to league, it was, just, another level of intensity and running and stuff. So it was, it took a little bit to get the general bit of flow and the positions and who does what and things like that. I think when I first got there and was doing some rehabs, I was doing like some fullback kicking drills with a prop in the end stages of rehab to get some change of direction in, and they were looking at me like, "What are you doing?" So that was a quick learning experience to understand the positions more and go from there. But it's a really enjoyable sport that I've liked working in.
I like the way the prop allowed you to do that.
Yeah. I mean, he looked at me weird, obviously, and he was, he's talking to the coach, maybe debuting in fullback soon. So, like I said, it's a learning experience.
It wasn't Cooper, was it?
No, that was at North. That was at North a long time ago. Yeah, I've grown since then when coming here. So,
very good. Well, that takes us. It covers the early stage there. We've got some questions in from fans. We'll rattle through a couple of them to get some injuries. What's the worst injury you've ever had to deal with? That's from Nathan.
I think it depends on how you define worst. I think I'd say some of the worst ones are going to be any like potential form of life threatening. So I think probably the biggest one was when Bentley went down I think it was away at Huddersfield. And Fergie was actually, he went down at Huddersfield, so we had to just run on there and, spine board him off and take him away for that and let him get to the hospital. So I think, you do all those training sessions, which IMOF here is a great course, and it helps us learn and prepare as professionals to take care of any of the dangerous things that happen or life-threatening injuries. It was, the first big time over here that we had to really put that into use, and we had to work as a team. It was a great medical staff at Huddersfield as well as ours, and we were able to, safely get him off. But, it was a pretty decent one. He was out for a bit. We had to perform. So when they do get knocked out, sometimes they have this snoring, so essentially they're not getting air in, and they'll clench down on their mouth guard a little bit as well. So usually you perform this thing called a jaw thrust, which allows you to help open up the airways and get that air in, so they stop that snoring mechanism. Now Bentley was biting down too much, so we couldn't get a good jaw thrust to get air in. So we had to put a nasal in, which allows air to go through that way. And then he eventually stopped snoring, and then we could, he got air in, and then we could start the process of taking him off. So yeah, that was, like I said, probably the most intense, just because it was more of a life-threatening thing than anything else. But again, he was safe afterwards, and everything was good, all cleared.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic right across the league, the care that's taken for all our players, and you often see it. The medical staff are on the pitch straight away looking after them, and it's a real credit to your profession, and of course what we do at the Rhinos. I remember Brodie Croft earlier this season; he had quite a nice one over at Salford as well, didn't he? Someone asks, who is the most needy player? Before I let you have a think about that one, but I always feel we've got a lad called Cameron who does a bit of massage, and he must get through at least 3 tubes of DP on Sam Lasoni's legs every game before Sam does his spells on there, and he's got Cameron there, and they're not small legs that Sam's got there. So I think he definitely has a hotline to Sam to get the massage going there. But who would you class as the most needy player?
I don't know. To be fair, we have a pretty good group this year. I don't know if I can really single out one person that needs a lot. Like I said, they've come through quite a bit over the past couple of years, and yeah. To be fair, I can't think on the spot right now who it is.
I suppose the important part of it is that relationship you have, because probably the physios spend more time with the players than most other staff, because they're in early, particularly if someone's got an injury, you're there with them in the darkest moments of their career. And actually, it's though what they're asking for, you can actually assess where they are with things. And maybe if someone's not coming to see you, so they're not being needy, that's more of a warning sign than someone who is needy.
Yeah, true. I think if you want to say who spends the most time in the physio room, he doesn't need treatment, and he's or rehab, and which is good. He stays healthy, but Joe O'Connor's definitely up there with being in the physio room the most and just having a chat. So
yeah, he's a social butterfly. And for those who've been listening to the Knock On Effect podcast, he's probably setting up some sort of prank or trying to find out who has set up the prank. Jared's always on the case there, looking for his next line for his podcast. You've briefly touched on it there. So someone's Jacob Brown's asked, how do you become a physio and what degrees do you need? I mean, it's a really tough thing. I know, particularly in this country, to get on. There's so much competition for those physio places at university, that it's important that you become a real rounded figure and maybe do some volunteering and things like that, really, to develop your CV on that, isn't it?
yeah, I think is that from more of a uni perspective or more like getting into sport, I guess?
Well, I think in terms of those degrees to become a physio, but then how do you then transfer that into a job in physiotherapy?
Yeah, I think I can't necessarily comment on the UK, but like in Australia and the US, it's pretty it's like a sought after profession, and you got to score decently well. So I think the most basic thing, it's just getting decent enough grades to get in is step one. But then obviously doing all the external stuff outside of it, it's all the extracurriculars that add up as well to get into it. Once you're in and once you pass, once you graduate, I think it's then kind of going the extra mile. So obviously, all of us that work in sport understand that it is hard work, and it's usually something that we really love to do and enjoy to do. So I think you have to make sure you love it first or really enjoy doing it, because otherwise you're not going to be able to put in the quality hours and the hours that it requires. It is rewarding, and sometimes it doesn't feel like work if you enjoy it enough, because you're having such a great time. But yeah, I think anytime an opportunity arises in sport, whether that's working with, even if it starts off working with the lower level teams, I think that's one thing I struggle with a little bit too. Do you try and get an internship at a really high professional team, or do you try and work at the lower levels and get your hands dirty? So if you can figure out how to kind of meet in the middle of, and have a lower level team that you're working with when you first start out, where you can do a lot and experiment and make mistakes and learn from them, and then you can get in a little bit with a high level team if it's possible time wise, to make those connections to get in and learn from those more experienced physios. I think that's a good way. But if you're at least doing one of those to start, it is hard, because I know you got to make a living as well outside of it, and early on it is hard. So it's kind of figuring out how to balance those and keeping your priorities.
Yeah, that brings us neatly on to the next question from Lucy, who asks, what's the toughest part of the job?
I would say physio is really gray. So you might think like there's a right or wrong answer for everything, but I think physio is a profession that is very gray. So with a lot of decisions comes, what is the right answer? You can do pros and cons, and a lot of times it comes down to experience and talking to people and working together as a team. But it is sometimes there probably isn't a right answer. But sometimes there is a wrong answer, which is kind of hard to comprehend there. But it's time pressure of certain things, and then what is the right decision, and as you go and you like more from a player return standpoint, should they play, should they not play, what should we do in this situation? We take them off field, should we not take them off field, things like that. So it is a very great profession. So just understanding that the more you go, the more experience you get, and you work through those, you can use your clinical reasoning and keep improving that. So it should keep getting better.
And then just finally from T. Cartwright, best tips for recovering after rugby. Well, I presume one of the tips for recovering after rugby is making sure you prepare properly beforehand.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think going into a game is hydrated as you can, warm up as you can, ready to go. Obviously, is going to decrease risk of injuries before the game and during the game. Rugby's a really big contact sport, so you can't. Contact injuries are going to happen, and so you can't stop that very much. But yeah, after the game, I think if you're just keeping it most basic, just try to get high protein meal in afterwards, make sure you have good fluids in recovery, and get a good night's sleep afterwards are probably the most basic things that you can do to ensure you feel better the next day. And then the next day after, just get some light movement in. We usually like Gretz, and then we'll make the players send in some form of a photo into the group chat of their recovery for the day. Some people do sauna, some people do swim, some people do hot cold therapy, some will just go for a little walk. So just anything you really just getting moving around the next day instead of sitting there and doing nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting how people tailor it to themselves. From a physio point of view, someone like, say, Callum Watkins or Ryan Hall, is that really interesting for you? Because they've obviously learnt things over the years, then now they're at a stage where they know what's right for their body. Are you learning off them as well? Yeah,
no, both of those are, some of the best professionals I've worked with. They take care of the bodies, and that's why they're in the game. As far as I am, especially Holly, he does everything he needs to do, and he knows what you need to do. And with those people, usually don't need to say much because they're already doing the right things. So.
And you're very much a team, the medical department, right? You're in so say from Dave Ferguson. You've been at the Rhinos a couple of years now, and that's really helping. We see the results on the field. You only need to look how strong our reserve team is to see how well things are going at the moment. That must give you a great boost.
Yeah, no, I think all the other staff, Fergie's been amazing. He's helped me learn and grow a lot as a professional. And then Charlie and Gretz, the other S&Cs, have been great to kind of help on that performance side. And yeah, all the staff that's been here has been great. And I think we've continued to keep working together and growing. So it's been good.
And in terms of the group as a whole, we mentioned there that how well we're doing at the moment. Morgan Gannon's gone down recently. The injury picked up at Saints. And obviously Mike Seawer's on long term recovery, but we're in a really healthy position, aren't we, as a group?
Yeah. No, I think we're looking good as a group. So that's our main priority now. I think physio has two main standpoints. The first one that everyone always knows is like the rehab standpoint. So someone gets injured, and then you try and get them back and ready to play as best you can, putting them in the best shape to not re-injure and play at their best. But I think the other side of physio is also what we're really focusing on now, that we have a relatively healthy group of trying to keep on top of, monitoring certain things throughout the week, that if they do have a little bit of tightness or things that are down that are usually up, so they do different tests throughout the week, and if their scores are a little bit off from normal, then we have a chat with them. Do we need to modify certain things? Do we need to do a quick treatment? Do we need to do some prep work to get them feeling better, to try and keep them healthy? So I think that's a good part as well, of making sure you're on that front end and being more proactive than a reactive, and that's another important part of physio.
You mentioned there rehab. Is there any particular player you've taken a lot of satisfaction that you've helped get back from a serious injury and get back on the field?
I think my biggest two that I want to get now are the McCormick brothers. I think those are the main projects right now that are trying to get back and playing healthy. I think Ben Littlewood just returned now, and that's been good to see him. He's had a long time out. And then I think those are kind of the main ones right now that we're working on.
Yeah, and we're obviously getting to a crucial part of the season in terms of that recovery. This week we've had a 7-day turnaround and things like that. There isn't much time to get things right there. Presumably that means you've got to make the most of every minute you've got with the lads.
Yeah, definitely. I think Brad and the coaching staff and Gretz and all them are good at also, making sure they tailor training to suit the lads enough to where they can recover, but also get some form of training stimulus in. So again, that is a conversation. We'll see how they pull up, and then we can have a conversation with Gretz and the SNC and Brad and all that, and kind of go, look, this is kind of how they're pulling up here. They can then take that on board and tailor training around that as well. So like I said, it is a whole collaborative approach on how we go with that.
I'm presuming that's vitally important that the medical staff, the performance staff, the coaching staff are all working as one, that you're not pulling against each other.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, like I said, the club here, the full time I've been here, everyone's been working together really well, and yeah, I think it's super important. I can imagine it'd be really hard if you have a lot of different views and not working together. So it's been good that the whole time every staff member that I've been here we've worked together, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and we mentioned at the top of the show, your mum and dad watching back in America there, Super League Plus season ticket holders watch all the Rhinos games over in the States. And of course, we're going to them next year over in Vegas. Were you the most excited man in the Rhinos camp when that news got announced?
Yeah, no, I think, it is exciting to go play in the US. I've personally never even been to Las Vegas. It's never been a place that I've been super keen to go. But I think, my mom and dad are excited about that. And then even some friends and stuff over there have chatted about it. So, it'll be good and exciting times for the Rhinos and Super League and Rugby League in general, trying to keep growing the sport.
Yeah, when you look at the couple of games the NRL have had there, and obviously Wigan Warrington last year, there's a lot of travelling fans. There's a lot of US fans there as well. What do you think the US supporters will make of Leeds Rhinos and Super League in general?
Yeah, no, I think it is it's hard when you don't understand the game. So I think once the rules and everything start to get more understood, it will probably be recognized and supported a lot more. But I think it is hard when, at least Rugby League is way easier than Union to understand from the most basic standpoint. So I think, if people start to watch it, I already know like some of my friends back there have seen it, and like the physicality of it and the excitement of the game is something that they do really enjoy. But yeah, the more you get to know it, the rules, and more you get behind a team, I think the more it will continue to grow. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to put you up as our spokesman when we get to Vegas.
Yeah.
Patrick's going to explain all the rules to all the locals, and we'll be fine. There'll be thousands of them. It'll be fantastic stuff. And of course, you mentioned your time at the Saints, and obviously we were playing at Las Vegas Raiders ground. You're a Detroit Lions fan for your sins.
Yeah, it's been a tough life, but except for the past couple of years, I've been a diehard supporter my whole life, and probably arguably one of the worst franchises in sports history.
Yeah. It's up there, certainly up there.
But diehard Lions fan. Mom's the same. My family's supports them a lot. So we've been pretty happy the last couple of years, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this year as well. Yeah,
well, as a Chicago Bears fan, I've got no room for argument, but at least we have got one Super Bowl to our name.
True.
So Pat, it's been great to have you on board. I hope you've enjoyed learning a bit more about the physio side of things here at Leeds Rhinos. Do remember to subscribe to keep up to date on all our latest podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll keep you in touch with everything that's happening here at Leeds Rhinos. And remember to give us a 5-star review so we can continue to climb those the podcast charts and spread the word about Leeds Rhinos and all things rugby league. We'll be back on Monday with a review of Friday's game against Leigh Leopards. Don't forget, it's a double header of action on Friday with our women's team taking on the Leopards as well. It should be a fantastic night of rugby league action here at AMT Headingley. We can't wait to see you down there. Hopefully we'll be down. Give the boys a cheer. It should be a cracking game. It's 3rd v 4th. Those vital playoff spots are on the line. It's going to be a great occasion. So get down and support both our teams here at AMT Headingley. Thanks for joining us, Pat, and we'll see you next time.